Hi, and welcome to the Flip Learning Network's Flipped Educator Spotlight Series. My name is Kelly Walsh, and I'm the Community Administrator for the Flip Learning Network. The Flip Learning Network is the original online hub of the Flip Learning community. We're a not-for-profit organization whose mission includes providing access to a wealth of tools, resources, and professional development opportunities. We hope to help educators build on the possibilities inherent in flipped teaching and learning, and to explore evolving student-centered instructional practices. We invite educators everywhere to explore the resources available at fliplearning.org and to contribute to the discussion through comments, questions, and by submitting your own posts. Indeed, the site is built on contributions from flipped educators like yourself who write blog posts. We also encourage you to join us on Slack, where we have an ongoing dialogue. Today's interview with teacher Stacey Roshan is conducted by Crystal Kirch.
Welcome. My name is Crystal Kirch, and I am a digital learning coach and former high school math teacher in Southern California. And I'm a part of the Flipped Learning Network board. And today I am here with Stacey from Maryland. Hi, Stacey.
Hi.
So, Stacey, tell us a little bit about your background so we can get to know you. Where do you teach? What do you teach? And what inspired you to become a teacher?
I am a high school math teacher and also the technology coordinator at my school, at Bullis School. We're an independent school outside of Washington, D.C. We're located in Potomac, Maryland. And what inspired me to become a teacher? Well, part of it was probably my mom is also a math teacher, so I kind of always had that in me that I just wanted to teach, and I've always loved math. And I just wanted to share my love of math with other students, and that's what got me into teaching.
Awesome. Now, I know that you have been flipping for a long time. I think I first met you back in 2012 at the ISTE conference, and you were one of the first people that I kind of came across who was flipping when I started just a few months before that. So tell us a little bit about what got you into flipping and what kind of pushed you towards that type of pedagogy.
Yeah, so, I think for me it started really with my AP Calculus class. So I was teaching in 2009, I was teaching this wonderful class, and we were just running out of time on a daily basis, and I just wanted more time with my students to get around to them and talk to them on a daily basis. And with me lecturing for such large portion of class, I just didn't have the time for that. And so I learned about Camtasia Studio, and it was just a simple, way to record my screen and my voice and put that on the web somewhere for students to watch. And I just decided I was going to put my lectures on video that year. And so, that was just the start of it for me. It wasn't really to flip my class, or I guess it wasn't really a thing then. So, I was just looking for a way to increase the interaction with my students. And to me, the answer was if I could offload some of the lecture. And so that's how it started, just by putting my lessons. I put all my lessons that year onto video, and my students watched it, and it went well.
Awesome. I think you make a great point about, it wasn't really called flipping back then. And nowadays it's so common that some people hear about it and they say, oh, I want to try it because it's new, it's fresh, it's using technology. But really it goes back to the goals that you saw this tool, really technology and video just being a tool to help solve some issues in your class and to make your class more into what you wanted it to be. I think that's an approach that we want to take with everything that we try.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So as you continued in 2009, that's 8 years of continuing to work with this. What have you seen as you've continued to progress and going past just having your lectures on video?
Yeah. So, the first year, so I saw the problem, I really addressed the problem in my class in 2009. So 2010 was the first year that I started flipping the content. And so that year I just did the videos. Then the next year I said to myself, well, how can I change class a little bit? So I started working on what I did in the classroom a little bit, because I wanted to do more of the discussion because we had time for it now. And then the next year I started doing it in my Honors Algebra 2 class. And when I flipped my Honors Algebra 2 class, I felt that just the video alone wasn't enough for them, that I needed more interaction. And by that time, we had better technology available. So that's when I started embedding quizzes into my videos. And now that's a really important part of what I do and how I do it is the interactivity. So, the quiz questions that I ask, sometimes I, will ask them a question before I introduce the material so that I can get what they're thinking, and then I can introduce something, and I can do all of that within a video. Sometimes I just want to test their knowledge, and I want them to be able to test their own knowledge and see how they're doing. So for them to have some self-checks within it. That was the next level for me, and something that I've continued to think about how to change just how the video goes and how that interaction happens and how students are interacting with it, how they are able to help themselves, and also how I'm able to get group analytics so that I can easily customize class. So before students even walk into the classroom, I have a sense of what I need to do for that day. I know what I need to go over on the board as a class. I know what small groups I need to work on. I know, how to assign things and stuff like that. So that's kind of been my progression, is just really thinking about that piece of how to, set up not just the video, but the whole experience.
Yes, definitely going deeper. And I like how you said, first year, yeah, a lot of it was creating that content, but then what happens next? And I think sometimes teachers get overwhelmed. Now, being able to see teachers who are 8 years into this, that have these whole systems, but knowing that took you time, and it took a process of figuring out what was going to work for your students. And when you started flipping with a new prep with your Algebra 2 class, those students needed different things. And so, for those of you listening to this, it's like your kids are going to need different things, and it's going to take time for you to figure out what exactly is going to work for your kids.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think checking in with the students and seeing how they're doing and what they want and if they want any changes is so important also. Even if I have a set of videos that I know that I'm going to reuse this year, I will do little edits to it, or I will just edit the way that I ask the quiz questions or the way that I assign it or what I do before or after. So I think every year my classroom is different depending on the students that I have. And even within sections, I might do things slightly differently. And I think that, once you have, that set of videos, there's still a lot of customization that you can do within it. So I don't ever feel like I'm just using exactly the same material that I used the year before, because obviously every year I want to get a little bit better and I want to do something a little bit differently. And, I think about that. That's what makes teaching fresh and fun, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so much that you can do within that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I think you make a great point with that. And you also mentioned gathering feedback from students about what they're thinking about things. How do you go about doing that? What does that look like?
First of all, I just listen to them a lot. So I ask them questions and just, see what they're doing and how they're doing with all of it. I think that's the really fun part about being, face-to-face with your students, just hearing from them and listening to them. But I also do just simple, Google forms and just do a quick, how are things going? What do you like? What don't you like? What feedback do you have? And I think that they like knowing that they're heard also, because I think it makes them feel like, this class is about them and I care about them and I care about what they think. And it's also a big reason about why I think that embedding the quizzes in the video has made a big difference, because those questions, every time obviously I like asking the multiple choice because it gives them instant feedback, but I also always put free response text questions, and I read all of that and I give them feedback on that and I talk to them about that. And sometimes they write in there, like, I'm really confused, and they'll write me a little note that has nothing to do with the question that's being asked because they want to tell me something, And so it's just another way to communicate with students, even if it's just right within that video quiz, to hear back from them. I think what's most important is that if we're asking those questions that we're reading them and that we're letting students know that we're reading them.
That's a huge point. And it's building those relationships with those students as well and building that trust. And I think they'll work for you more. They'll be more engaged in the class when they know that you care and they know that they're not just doing a bunch of busy work.
Yeah.
So over your years of flipping, what do you feel like the biggest challenge or obstacle has been that you've faced?
I would say probably the biggest challenge I faced was when I first flipped Honors Algebra 2. And, I had said that I flipped AP Calculus and the first year went too well. Like it was just too easy. The students took to it so well and liked it. And when I flipped Honors Algebra 2, I wasn't prepared for maybe students not being so on board. But the real problem was that, they were 9th and 10th graders and I hadn't explained it well enough to parents. Because again, it wasn't like, now if you say the flipped classroom, parents already know because they've read about it and they understand. But when I did it, parents didn't know what the heck I was talking about. And there wasn't any research about it and people weren't really talking about it. And so they were confused and they weren't able to explain it well to their children who had questions about it. And it was a rough beginning. And so it took me a full month and a half to build those relationships and make parents understand. And once they did, they were so excited about it. But what I've done ever since is I've created a video for parents to watch to explain it to them. So we have back to school night and I have a video for that. And any parent who can't make back to school night can still watch the video and understand what it's about. Because one of the things that I think is most important to explain to parents is, and a big misconception can be, okay, now students are required to teach themselves all of this material. And to me, the learning happens in the classroom. The best learning happens in the classroom. And by flipping, I can just make more powerful learning happen in the classroom. That's really what I believe. I mean, the video is background knowledge. And yes, it's very important. It's a very important component to my class, especially in AP Calculus. You have to watch the videos. However, we are digging deeper. We are putting the material together. We are making all the connections and synthesizing the material in class together. To me, working on the problems and doing that type of deeper thinking, that's where the learning happens. And so, yes, important information is given for homework in the video. However, that doesn't mean that students are learning this material on their own in any way.
Definitely. You talked a little bit about class time and what you're able to do with it and how it is so important. Could you kind of describe, I know every day is different, but talk to us about a couple of the different type of structures or activities or things that you do with the students to really dive in deeper.
Yeah, so a lot of times I start class with a warm-up in Pear Deck. So I use something called Pear Deck, and it's a way to, a formative assessment tool, really. I can ask any questions. I can have drawing response questions. My students actually have Wacom tablets, so they plug them into their computer and they're able to actually write on the screen, so I can ask them questions that way. Basically, I can ask some bigger questions. I'll start with something simple and kind of ramp them up to something more difficult. Everybody's participating in this though, because everybody's required to give a response every day. And something I love about Pear Deck is I can show all the responses of the class in an anonymous way. So it doesn't have students' names tied to what they've done. Or obviously, if it's a multiple choice, it gives me just a bar chart of what people have responded, so we can talk about the different responses that have come in. But that's one of my favorite ways to start class now, because I can get everybody's answer. I can hear from every single student in the classroom. And, some people are really great with talking up in class and raising their hand and they love it. And other students are much better, typing an answer behind a computer screen. And so by starting with something in Pear Deck, I'm able to hear from both, because First of all, students all respond on their own device, because we are a school where we are bring your own device school. Every student has a laptop in class. And then after that, we talk about it. So then the students who like to, shout out answers or raise their hand, I still get to hear from them. So it's a way to differentiate and a way to dig deeper all together and do problems. And so after that, we usually do a bit of a warm-up, and then we'll break out into groups, and students will work on problems, textbook problems, or they'll work on a worksheet that I've created, or just AP problems in the AP class that I teach. And and then we just bring it back to the board at different times. And so, I feel like I can have a little bit of a looser class structure. I'm a pretty structured person, a pretty structured teacher, but because I get out all that content on the video and I know that's being delivered, I'm a little bit more relaxed in the classroom, which also teaching more, and it made me enjoy myself as a teacher more.
Yeah.
Just because I can feel a little bit more relaxed. I don't feel so pressed for time because we have so much more of it. And so, yeah, my class looks different on different days, but that's pretty much how it goes.
So it sounds like a flexible learning environment. The kids, are working, collaborating. There's not that pressure. And I think from the first time I met you, that's what you've always said, is you felt that pressure. And I think so many teachers I talk to still feel that pressure, that they have so much to go through, and the bell always rings, and the kids don't get as much time to, ask questions as they want. And it just seems like such an easy answer to try flipping your content, and you provide such a great story for that. So what's next for you as you continue on? I know that you are taking on different roles and still teaching some in-person classes, jumping into teaching online classes, and continuing, like you said, every year trying to make it better. What do you see as your next steps?
Yeah, so right now this is my first year teaching an online section of AP Calculus. So I'm teaching one section, it's just purely online. So that's been a really fun experience. And, that's just where, so my mind is thinking about potential solutions and making it better. Something that, when I was tasked with creating this course, I said to myself, the most important thing to me is going to be, how do I preserve the collaboration and getting to know my students? Because that's why I love teaching, because I get to work with kids and I get to hear from them and I get to talk to them. And, the thing that would break my heart is if I lost that by teaching in an online setting. So, communication was big. I've really played with using Slack this year for students to actually communicate on there, for us to communicate questions and answers. It's been a really great channel for that. So I'm still exploring ways to make that more effective, to get kids helping one another more often. I don't want to always be the one jumping in to, rescue. Something that's great about the flipped classroom that you see is that instead of having to answer all the questions, when you flip your class, students are helping one another, because now you have a lot of time. Students have, 20, 30 minutes to work on problems. They're going to ask one another. If they only have 5 minutes at the end of class to do a bunch of problems, they're going to ask you because they don't have enough time. So, in my online setting, I'm still working on ways that students can help one another. Something neat that I've done is just, I do require some video chats in that class. So one time a week, we do a group chat. So everybody in the class is required to get online, and we are all on at the same time and we talk. But I also have them do small group Google Hangouts, and they just record it with YouTube Live. And so they, do their Google Hangout, they record it, and then they submit it to me. And then I go back and I watch it later so that I can give them any feedback on it. But I'm not actually in there. So they're helping one another. They're talking to one another. They have a lot of questions that they're asking. They know that I'm going to go back, and if anything was incorrect, I'll, fix that or brush up on any misconceptions or anything like that. But that's been a really valuable tool for me, and also, really gives me the opportunity to still see kids, talking in their own way, because they talk differently to one another than when you're just, talking to them. So I found that to be really fun, and I want to expand, what I can do with that, and ways to get them continuing discussions, either through video or somewhere online. It can be challenging sometimes with math to creatively think of that, but it's been a fun challenge. So yeah, that's where my head's been at this year.
That's awesome. My head is even spinning as you're describing this, of how things like that could be used even in non-online settings, and just continuing to build the capacity of students to discuss and share and support one another and communicate their thinking. And it's just so exciting to see people delving into things and exploring, being the first one in, the one who's diving in, and so other people can follow. So as we finish up today, do you have anything that, if you had one little nugget of advice for someone considering flipping or someone just starting out, what might that be?
It would probably be to think about how your class is running right now, and what do you wish was a little bit different? Maybe what do you wish you had more time for, or, what do you wish you could change a little bit? And then start searching for the solution, or then start thinking about how flipping might answer that question. Because I think it's really important that we always start with, the problem or the question before we jump into the solution. I think oftentimes when we jump to the solution first, we're doing it a little bit backwards, and our outcome just isn't as successful. So I always try and ask myself, what is it that I'm really trying to solve? And even as technology coordinator, when people come to me and ask me, how do I do so-and-so, I ask them, well, why are you looking for this answer? What are you actually trying to do? Because sometimes the answer is a little bit different than you originally thought it would be. So that would really be my number one piece of advice, is to start with, what you're trying to accomplish rather than looking at the solution first.
What a great piece of advice to finish with. I think that's huge. Could you tell everyone where they can find you online? I know you're on Twitter and you have a blog.
Yeah, definitely. So on Twitter, I'm at BuddyXO. And that's because my dog's name is Buddy. I first created my Twitter account when I thought I would never use Twitter, because I just did not think that I would be that type of person. And I'm usually quite personal with things, but I love Twitter. And so my dog's name's Buddy, and I love him. BuddyXO. And my blog is techiemusings.com.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely put those links in the article attached to this video. And Stacey, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today, taking the time out of your day to share your experiences. There's so many nuggets of wisdom that I hope people can take from your experience. And I just want to thank everyone who is listening to this whenever and wherever you are. And we look forward to sharing more with you soon from the Flip Learning Network.